Aloha, everybody. How many of you experience prophetic dreams? These are dreams that come to you while you're either sleeping or meditating, and after experiencing a dream, they actually come true. Now, this is one of my very, very basic skills that I was born with and gifts that I was born with. And from a very early age, I started receiving prophetic dreams. And these dreams I would share with others, and some people would react very well, while others I'd get punished for it. Okay? So, in this particular dream, series of dream I'm going to be sharing with you, occurred when I was 10 years old. Now, I grew up on the island of Molokai, and between the ages of 9 through 11 was a very stressful time for our family growing up on Molokai, because during this time period, we watched our grandpa, my dad's dad, slowly wither away fighting cancer. And several months before my grandpa passed away, I had a series of disturbing dreams. And in this first dream that I received from about my grandpa, I saw myself cleaning yard with my grandpa in his yard, and he was raking up leaves and cleaning, and I was helping him pick up the rubbish. And while he was raking, he kind of like gave me an odd look and kind of like a teasing look, and kind of winked at me, and all of a sudden he sprouted wings. Wings came out of his back, just and he flew away. And so I watched him flying away in the sky, and I ran into the house, and I said, "Grandma, Grandma, Grandma," kind of, Tutman took off, and she came out. What do you mean she took off? He says, Tutman flew away. So the family that was there came out, and we started looking around. Okay, if he flew away, where's he going to land? And so we started searching and looking all over the place for him, and we couldn't find him. And finally, my mom and dad said, "Hey, let's go home." And so we jumped in a car and went back to our homestead. And when we came to our home, we found a box. And this was a wooden crate, long wooden crate, and nailed shut. And so my dad took a pry bar and opened up the box. And to our surprise, Grandpa was inside. And so we woke him up and got him out, and took him in a house to feed him. And we called him, "Hey, we found Grandpa." Okay, so that was the end of the dream number one. A few nights later, I have a second dream, and again I'm cleaning yard with my grandpa, and this time there's a couple of cousins out there playing around and helping grandpa too with the yard. And while he's talking to us, he fades away, just disappears. And my cousin and I were looking at each other. We get scared, and so we run into the house and uh, tell our grandma, "Toothman disappeared." So uh, she comes out, and we start going through the same process and trying to look for him. Well, if he disappeared, where is he going to reappear? So we search all over the place and can't find him. And finally, my parents and us, we go home to our homestead. And when we go home, there's a long, skinny, white cardboard box that's on our porch. And when we cut it open, Grandpa is sleeping inside the box. And so we again take him out, go feed him, and call the family, say, "Hey, we found Grandpa." The final dream that occurred several nights later and this one was more disturbing than the previous ones. Um, Grandpa is, again, I'm cleaning yard outside with Grandpa, and now he's surrounded by my cousins, and for some odd reason, Grandpa just, bends down a little bit and pushes off, and like Superman, he's flying up in the air, and the cousins and I are looking up and seeing him disappearing in a closet, and going, oh wow, Grandpa can do that, So we're just amazed, and so we run into um, the house and say, Tutu lady, Grandpa flew away. So we're kind of like wondering what's going on, and so we search all over the place for Grandpa. Can't find him. So from my previous experience, I figure, hey, if we go home, we're gonna find Grandpa on our porch. So we go home, and to our surprise, there's nothing there. And as soon as we get into the house, we get a phone call, and this time it's from one of my cousins who's living with my grandpa them during that time, and she tells us that, hey, we found Grandpa, or we think we found Grandpa. So my dad and us crowd into our car, and we take off and we go down to my grandpa's homestead. And when we get to the homestead, we look, and there's a big white box, long box, that's sitting near the driveway for my grandpa's house. And as I look at it, it looks really, really different than the boxes that we had. There was cloth on the outside, and it began looking more and more like a casket. So when my dad got out of the car, he went over and opened up the box, and sure enough, my grandpa was inside sleeping, and this time he was dressed in really, really nice clothes. Now, after receiving these dreams, and this was early in the year, probably about April, March or April, I got these dreams, and um, one weekend, my dad and I we're sitting and we're talking, and I decided to tell him about the dream that I had. And after explaining the first dream, he looks at me and very angrily says, "How come you dream that kind of peel out dream? What's the matter with you? We gotta be, we need to pray about this and make sure that this doesn't happen." And in a way, I felt like, wow, I was to blame, like I was doing something wrong. And I just said, Dad, this is just a dream. I saw this in my dream. Yeah, I know, it's peel out this dream. That's no good. And so he got really angry at me. Well, interesting thing about it is that several days later, we received mail from a mail from my brother, and my brother was attending Kamehameha schools. And in the letter, my brother wrote that he had a dream that that showed him that my grandfather's mission here on Earth was over, and he was about to leave. Now, that was in April and May. Right around that time, my grandpa started to get very experience a lot of pain, and he was looking for ways to alleviate the pain. And one of those ways was to have a surgery, and the surgery could not be performed here in Hawaii. In order to get the surgery done, he had to fly away to New York. So Grandpa was sprouting wings and flying away. So he agreed to the surgery, and despite the fact that the surgeon said there's not much survivability rate, the survivability would be really low. But by this time, Grandpa was in such pain that he decided, "Yeah, let's take a chance." So he went up, and unfortunately, on the day before my 11th birthday, June 17th, 1964, my grandpa passed away. Now, when he returned to Hawaii, he returned in a white casket. This fulfilled my dream, my prophetic dream that I had. When I saw my grandpa's casket coming out of the airplane, I started crying, and my dad finally understood the full measure of my dream. And he looked at me, and we hugged each other, and he didn't say a word though. Now, for many of you that receive prophetic dreams, you'll get a lot of mixed reactions. Like my dad, he had to wait to see the full fruits of my vision before he understood. Wow, yeah, this boy saw something. Okay, now may your prophetic dreams be more pleasant and fruitful. And if you enjoyed these stories, please share it with other people and subscribe. And this is Dave Wallace saying mahalo and aloha.